every professional is required to preserve the dignity and interest of the profession. I was telling you, or reminding rather, these things. Every professional is required to preserve the dignity and interest of the profession. Number one. Number two, every professional is required to work in the best interest of the society. Then every professional is required to maintain the best possible conditions of service and high standard of professional and personal conduct. Every professional is required to be just and impartial in delivering the services, in interacting with the clients, right? In conversing with any stakeholder. So every professional is required to be just and impartial in doing that. Then we are working in a team, so we need to have team spirit. We need to work in unison, means we need to work as a very harmonious unit, as a very harmonious member of the team, right? So work in unison simply means that we need to conduct in such a way that we are an integral part of the team and we are actively contributing to the collective goal, right? So every team is required to produce something collectively, and every member of the team is required to contribute actively towards that goal. So work in unison means that. Now consider, is it true of every profession or only some profession? Or is it true of every professional behavior or only some professional behavior? Now you see, as a professional, certain individuals offer their services. They offer sole services. They offer individual services. They don't become part of any group. They perform individually, right? And therefore one may think that yes, here there is no team and therefore there is no requirement of this particular value to work in unison or work as a team member because there is no team. This could be a very narrow understanding of working in team. You are offering a professional services and there are other professionals also, either in team or individually, offering their services, right? So you are along with them, right? You are working, of course, individually, but you are working as a professional. And therefore, all those who are in that profession are your team members as if, right? And they all are contributing to the benefit of the society. And therefore, whether you are working individually in a separate office or you are part of a big organization, hardly matters when we consider the professional services to the society. So here, either directly or indirectly, you are working as a member of the team, right? Member of a profession. And profession itself is a team effort if you look at the activity from that perspective. So consider the notion of team in a bigger way, in a wide way than in a narrow way. It is not the immediate team or your being part of any actual group where you interact, where you discuss, and where you share ideas. In fact, as a professional, you are part of the professional community, right? So when we say that working in unison, it simply means that whether you are separately operating or operating as a member of an immediate group, You are part of the profession, right? And therefore, if you work, if you conduct in such a way that the members of the society are not satisfied, then what will happen? You will bring a bad name to the profession, right? They will start suspecting any such individuals who are working in that area, and that suspicion will harm the society, in fact, right? So working in unison should be understood in a wider way. Similarly, work for higher individual goals. You think of what are the aspirations, what are the goals of any person as an individual. तो ये जो बात हो रही थी कि जो लास्ट में दो वैल्यूज लिखे हैं, आई वांट टू हाईलाइट these two things. Work for higher individual goals. What could be the individual goal which should be considered as higher? कौन सा इंडिविजुअल गोल है जिसको हम कहेंगे हायर है और किस रिलेशन में हायर है, राइट? इन व्हाट सेंस a particular individual goal is considered as a higher goal. So if you recall one point of discussion in the Discourse on Human Virtues course, that how we decide that a particular goal is higher, a particular objective is good. What was the point? If you remember, we said that any goal can be considered as higher if the performer of that group or that particular activity have one idea in common. And what is that idea? Working in that area so that we feel that we are part of a larger group. We are participating in the higher order of the reality. In acting or conducting in certain ways, how we can say that we are working for a higher goal? When we feel that we are part of a larger group, we are part of a higher order reality. Higher order reality simply means that it is inclusive. Every individual is included, right? So in order to decide that we are working for higher individual goals, what should be our objective? The objective is that we must generate this feeling while doing certain activities, certain professional activities. Unless this feeling comes that we are being part of a greater group, a greater community, a greater society, then we are not working on individual goals which can be called higher. Consider, for example, if a public servant is taking bribe, उत्कोच ले रहा है, घूस ले रहा है. Now, in accepting bribe, can that public servant think of himself or herself being part of a larger group? Can a person can have this kind of feeling that I am participating in the greater order of reality? You will agree that no, this is not in fact being part of the greater order of reality. It is highly self-centered, very narrow, very egoistic kind of activity. You are not thinking of anyone else other than yourself, right? And this cannot be a higher individual goal. Why? Because accepting bribe is something which is a very narrow-minded, self-centered activity. And therefore, this kind of activity cannot be called a desirable activity because you don't have the feeling of being part of a greater order of reality. So unless we satisfy this condition that by doing certain activity, we are becoming part of a greater order of reality, we cannot say that we are working for higher individual goals, right? Now, think of the last one, which I have written here, strive for excellence. Now, again, excellence is a virtue, you know, that you have discussed in the discourse on human virtues class. Excellence is a virtue, right? And you also know that there is no limit to excellence. When you acquire very efficient skill, you cannot say that now this is the end. This is the final thing I can do as a professional. You will always have a feeling of improving on whatever best thing you have done so far, right? And that is what we call striving for excellence. Whatever level of excellence we achieve, we still think that there could be higher level of excellence, right? There cannot be any other thing where you can think of gaining excellence. Consider in terms of accumulating material items, material things. Just think of having a vehicle, a car or a helicopter or a chartered plane. Just think of having a house. How many houses you will require and how many houses will satisfy your aspirations? How many vehicles will satisfy your desire for acquiring vehicle? You may think of that each and every vehicle produced on the planet is yours, right? You can think of even having all the vehicles which will be produced in future. But despite all these fanciful thinking, you will still feel that, yes, these things are limited. We cannot just think that, okay, there could be unlimited height of accumulating material things, right? But in terms of knowledge, in terms of excellence, you can think of unlimited possibilities, right? And that is why it is said that we need to improve and we need to have this feeling of improvement at every stage of our life, in our knowledge, in our skill. Of course, we always think of improving on our material possessions, but then there is a limit to that. We must feel that. And we also know that, yes, there is a limited capacity of resource generation. The planet can support only limited production. The planet can support only limited number of things. There cannot be unlimited or boundless support you can get from the planet Earth for every kind of production. It could be agriculture production, it could be factory or industry production, it could be any kind of production, right? You cannot have unlimited capacity. The Earth planet has limited capacity, right? And therefore, achieving material wealth is limited finally by the capacity of the planet. But whether you are on the planet Earth or on moon or even you can go to the sun, there is always an unlimited potential of improving on your knowledge, on your skill. Here, the planetary limitation is immaterial. The cosmic limitation is immaterial, right? In terms of gaining excellence in knowledge. And that is why this is the aspiration. And when you try to improve on your knowledge, you don't have any competitor, remember. You yourself is your competitor. You want to defeat the person what you are today, and you want to win over that person tomorrow, right? And whatever you whatever steps you take in gaining excellence, there is no other competitor. Remember always, the competition, the sense of competition which we have in our mind is a very narrow, very problematic conception. And that is why, if you remember, we have emphasized this part, that competition is not the kind of spirit we need to have. It should be excellence. Instead of competition, it should be excellence. And if you are, let us say, confined to think in terms of competition only, then you need to compete with yourself. There is no other competitor, right? So consider all these values which are essential for any profession, right? Now you raise this question, whether there could be certain value which is essential for certain profession, not for other professions. You think over it and come up with your answers. Now, you know that every professional activity is meant for serving the society. And in offering the services, you also get some remuneration and you satisfy your individual requirements. And you know that in offering the services, you are supposed to meet certain standards. And in deciding that certain things are good or certain things are bad, what could be the ultimate parameter? We want to have excellent professional services. Why? Why we want to have excellent professional services? You can say that the professional services are meant for easing our life. They are necessary for a comfortable life. And when we say comfortable life, which means that we want to have greater convenience in terms of physical facilities. And when we are to decide that something is good or bad, we think that whether they are generating the requisite kind of material convenience or not. And by having material convenience, we are looking for a desirable kind of mental peace. And that is why we are looking for the wealth, we are looking for different physical facilities. So the goodness of physical facilities are decided on the basis of their service to our life, the way they are making our life comfortable. जब हम कहते हैं कि इनका काम अच्छा है, ये बड़े अच्छे हैं, और जब ये कहते हैं कि ये मोबाइल अच्छा है, तो दोनों जगह अच्छा टर्म यूज हो रहा है ना, गुड टर्म यूज हो रहा है. तो ये जो दोनों का सेंस है एक ही है या इसमें कुछ फर्क है? बोलिए, कोई अपना आइडिया शेयर करो कुछ.
सर, एक सेंस में सेम हो सकता है कि अगर हम प्रिंसिपल्स की बात करें कि जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल किसी आदमी की कुछ प्रिंसिपल्स है और वो उन प्रिंसिपल्स पे डिलीवर करता है, तो हम कह सकते हैं कि इसका काम अच्छा है या जिसने जो प्रॉमिस किया था वही ये कर रहा है. वैसे ही अगर कोई मोबाइल फ़ोन है, तो मोबाइल फ़ोन के जो ओनर्स है वो प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं कि ये पर्टिकुलर सर्विसेज़ देगा और जब हम उसे यूज़ कर रहे हैं तो वही पर्टिकुलर सर्विस दे रहा है. तो हम कहते हैं अच्छा है. तो उस सेंस में दोनों का सेम हो सकता है कि जो वो प्रॉमिस करते हैं या जो उनके प्रिंसिपल्स है उस पे वो डिलीवर करते हैं.
कोई इनके क्वेश्चन को, इनके रिस्पांस को इवैल्यूएट करेगा?
ये सर, मैं कुछ ऐड करना चाहूंगा कि जैसे मोबाइल फोन और प्रोफेशनल के बीच में हम कंपेयर करें तो वो अपना फंक्शन परफॉर्म करें, ये तो नेसेसरी है ही. साथ साथ उनमें क्या एक्स्ट्रा है, जैसे मोबाइल फोन में कुछ एक्स्ट्रा फीचर होगा तो वो हमें ज्यादा अपील करेगा. वैसे ही प्रोफेशनल में वो ज्यादा कुछ अपने से इनोवेशन कुछ करते हैं तो वो हमें ज्यादा अच्छा लगेगा.
इसी को पिछले वाले रेस्पॉन्स से जोड़कर देखते हैं. जैसे विकास ने कहा कि हम जब कोई प्रॉमिस करते हैं और अपना प्रॉमिस मेंटेन करते हैं तो हमारा बिहेवियर अच्छा माना जाता है, और मोबाइल फोन में जो प्रॉमिस किया गया है वही परफॉर्मेंस वो देता है, तो हम मोबाइल फोन को अच्छा मानते हैं. इन दोनों में जो प्रॉमिस का फैक्टर है, मोबाइल इज नॉट प्रॉमिसिंग एनीथिंग, राइट? प्रॉमिस कहाँ से आ रहा है? प्रॉमिस इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द producer. Promise is coming from the person who is producing or the organization who is producing that product. So promise can be meaningfully used only for a human behavior, right? It cannot be used for any product. Product does not promise anything. Who is promising? The promising person is a living being, in fact. And if you think of organization as a person, and for all legal purposes, any organization is a person, then of course you can think of an organization being not the kind of person in blood and flesh. Organization is a legal person. It is not a living person. So what do you say on this?
सो तो ऐसा कहा जा सकता है ना कि अगर कोई जैसे कोई हम इंसान है तो हमारे पास चॉइस होता है
हाँ।
कुछ अच्छा करने का बुरे, लेकिन मोबाइल के पास चॉइस नहीं है। उस सेंस में हमें मतलब ज्यादा वैल्यू हो सकती है कि हमारे पास अगर चॉइस भी है, दो चॉइस है, अच्छा चॉइस करने की, अच्छा करने की या बुरा करने की, तो हम अगर अच्छा चूज करते हैं तो उस सेंस में हम अच्छे हैं एज कम्पेयर टू मोबाइल जिसके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं है।
तो जो हम जिस चीज को वैल्यू करते हैं, मान लीजिए ये फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस है जो हमारे अंदर है, राइट? हम चूज कर सकते हैं कि किस तरह का प्रोडक्ट हमको लेना है। मार्केट में बड़े तरह के प्रोडक्ट हैं, हमें जरूरत ही नहीं, तो वो कितना भी अच्छे हों, हार्डली मैटर्स, राइट? तो हम चूज कर सकते हैं, गिवन दी ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल and our requirement, we choose. Now our behavior, our choosing will be evaluated. The moment we choose something, our behavior will be evaluated. Suppose someone chooses to kill someone, choice है ना, किसी को मारना है या ना मारना choice है, किसी को help करना है या ना करना choice है, choose करेंगे। और given the nature of society and the diversity of psychological features of individuals, all people, they all are differently choosing, right? Someone is choosing to kill someone, someone is choosing to help someone, someone is quite indifferent. So ultimately our behavior is evaluated the way we have exercised our choice. कि कोई चीज good है या bad, ये हम तय कैसे करते हैं, इसको देखते हैं। इसको देखने के लिए जो available answers हैं उनको हम ethical theories टाइटल दे करके डिस्कस करेंगे। Everything which we consider good or bad, we can think in two ways. Number one, whether it produces good result or it has good effect or it produces bad result. So something is good because it produces favorable result. So something is good because its result is favorable. Its result is something which we desire. Its result is something which is creating convenience in our life, or this result is liked by people. So ethical theories which are based on this consideration that something is good because their result is good, they are called consequentialist theories. Consequence matlab result, right? So all the theories which consider that something is good because their result is desirable, their result is favorable, their result is liked. So all such theories are called consequentialists. And the term which is used for theories is consequentialism. Consequentialism is a theory which suggests that anything is good because its result is desirable, its result is favorable. So consequentialism is an ethical theory which suggests that something is good because of its result, because it produces desirable result. Now you take it to human behavior. A particular human conduct is good because its outcome, its result is something which is appreciated. Its result is something which is liked by many or all. So any human behavior which produces favorable result, any human behavior which is appreciated by all is called good. So act is called good because of its consequence, not because of act itself. So all such considerations are put under the theory called consequentialism. And just opposite to this is the theory called non-consequentialism, which suggests that an act is good or bad in itself. If we start considering the result, then we will never end up in suggesting that this particular act is good or bad. Consider, for example, hanging of a rapist is good because it produces a deterrence in the society. But someone would say that no, killing is not good or bad because it produces some favorable result. The state which kills someone because someone is acting against the interest of the society, against the nation. So a state kills someone, terrorist also kills someone, right? So if killing is good in itself, then the killing by a terrorist or of a terrorist would be good. Then how are you going to decide that killing in one case is good, in other case is bad? So if you consider the result, you will never arrive at any definite decision. But if you consider the nature of act itself, then you can say whether it is good or bad. And all such theories which consider that there is something good about the act itself, not because the act is producing a favorable result or it is appreciated by the society or by a culture, but there is something in act itself, right? So all such theories are called non-consequentialism, and all the ethical theories are broadly divided into these two categories called consequentialism and non-consequentialism.